the Village of Villa Park Board of Trustees, July 11th, 2022. Clerk Kornecki, please call the roll.
Trustee Solella?
Here.
Trustee Corkery? Trustee Kozar?
Here.
Trustee Kumar?
Here.
Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Patrick?
Here.
President Kazal.
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together this evening. May we have meaningful discussions that will help us to assist our village in these trying times. Help us to make the decisions that will affect the staff, directors, and residents of Villa Park. Guide us through the challenges we face, and may we approach each other with respect and kindness as one group. In your name, amen.
Amen.
Okay, item number 3, public comments on agenda items. Clerk Kornecki, anyone signed up?
Yes, I have Cheryl Tucker for item 6A.
I need to sign this one too.
No, no.
I just want clarification as usual on this, because it was a kind of a muddy thing to try to read. I know we've had a lot of these ordinances come to prohibiting groundwater on our potable water supply. Why do we not have one ordinance, was my first question. Why can't we just group them in one ordinance and then just put the locations in that ordinance that they're prohibited? The second thing is, I don't have the knowledge you do, Village President, of this, on the soil retainment of the chemicals in the soil, which I thought could last up to 100 years or more after the source has been removed. Seeing I can't ask those questions, I'm just curious that help me understand why our village staff would recommend to the village board to vote on not having any future remediation. Now, if the
Have any
soils
what?
change, any future remediation on that property, which is known to be contaminated, or any future properties like it. I mean, I know we have a lot of them in here being business because the groundwater on that property, you know, it may be safe now, but due to changes or erosion or whatever, that all can change in the future. So I'm just curious on where that comes in effect. And that, I know the possibility of the voting either tonight or tomorrow on it. My question is, any future business owners, it didn't make it really clear, that purchase that property without any future remediation, would they be able to put decorative things on, like a fountain or a pond in the future things, because it's not a water source, but yet it is a water source? I mean, would they be able to put decorative fountains or stuff on that property in the future? It has no human consumption, but yet you're still using the contaminated groundwater. Is that part of this ordinance that they can't do that by a general terms on doing it? And so I just kind of want understanding. I know that this ordinance prohibits it for human consumption. They can't pump it in and then use it but can they do it for decorative purposes? Does that block any use of water sources? Will this block any use of it for this property or any future ones?
You have a lot of questions, a lot of...
In-depth questions.
Okay,
I just kind of, you know.
I'll give you a quick rundown. First off, as far as the citywide ordinance, we have talked about doing that. It's my understanding, and I believe it was probably about 15 years ago, there was an ordinance that Villa Park had tried to pass, but the Illinois EPA didn't accept it as a citywide. When you do a citywide ordinance, you have to be careful because there are homes that still have well water on the property. So you cannot go in and say you can't use wells on the property. Generally, what they'll try to do is say any existing wells are okay, but if the wells ever become where you can't use them, you cannot sink another one.
That's
And
why a lot of them
DuPage County, will not allow installation of wells as long as there's city water close by.
That's why we've had a lot of incorporated properties that have had to join and
Correct.
connect their water onto it because their wells became
Correct. That's
unused.
correct.
Okay.
So in that case, I did talk to the village attorney about that. We may look at doing a citywide ordinance and then seeing if the EPA would allow that. Regarding the other issues, oh, sure.
Provide just a quick clarification. In addition, section 25-388 of the Village Code references two exhibits. An exhibit of legal descriptions of those properties subject to groundwater ordinances. In addition, an exhibit related to the depiction of those properties. And this ordinance amends that so that there is a comprehensive list of those properties that are impacted by these ordinances as we do it piecemeal.
So wouldn't that be able to, by your statement, wouldn't we be able to make one ordinance and then just line item the properties on?
That's essentially what you're doing. by
That's
having
essentially
that
what you're
in the
doing
village
tonight,
code.
is making one ordinance and then being able to add the properties instead of doing individual ones, which has been coming across the board.
It has to be considered individually before this board with respect to the particular properties. But the village code is also being amended so that there's one comprehensive city code ordinance that identifies all of the properties that are subject to these provisions.
Right.
So it's twofold is what you're saying?
You can't do it just as a village-wide thing, but you have to do it piecemeal, property by property. However, the village code has a provision that allows the identification of all of the properties that are subject to the groundwater ordinance regulations.
So basically, you're making an individual ordinance for each property, but our village code groups them all together in one. But we can't just make an individual ordinance that way. So it's
But,
it's
yeah.
twofold is what it is.
This ordinance now.
Okay.
However, we can look at doing it just a citywide ordinance where the entire village is covered. And then that would keep us from having to do individual
Okay,
ordinances.
yeah, because it seems like more and more of them are coming up
Yeah,
on the board, and they become very confusing
Yeah.
on, okay, individual and property, whatever
Right,
it
okay.
is.
And then as far as your other questions, whatever the Illinois EPA restrictions around the property, if it be an engineered barrier or what they call building control technology, whatever is restricts the property usage, any future use would have to follow that. So if somebody wants to come in and make a garden there, and if there's supposed to be an engineered barrier, they would not be allowed to do that. And they would not be allowed to use the water as a fountain or for washing cars or anything like that. So that's just the way the ordinances are.
The ordinance would be set up, so like a individual who has, in that ordinance, just being a home, couldn't put a
Correct.
pond, a beautiful pond in the backyard or a fountain in the backyard. That would be,
Correct.
under this ordinance, that it would be restricted for them to do
That's
that.
correct. That's
Okay.
correct. Yeah. Trustee Kumar?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if we're listing it all under one, finally under one village code, it automatically stays in the code till you rescind the code. So, there's nobody following who buys the property can, rescind that until the
correct.
code changes.
Right. Okay. Hey, trustee, Clerk Konecki, anyone else?
I have no one else for
Okay, good.
agenda.
Okay. Item 4, amendments to the agenda. Do we have any amendments tonight? Okay, seeing none. Item 5, the consent agenda. Item 5A, minutes from the June 27th, 2022 Village Board meeting. And 5B, the bill listing from June 27th and July 4th, 2022, in a total amount of $1,250,980.92. Do we have a motion for the consent agenda? Trustee Corkery? And we have a second. Trustee Kumar? Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Konecki.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Kokery?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
President Kasim?
Yes. Okay, item 6A is the first reading on an ordinance to be codified. It's an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, prohibiting the use of groundwater as a potable water supply by the installation or use of potable water supply wells or by any other method. Manager Harley.
Yes, the village received a request from Eagle Environmental Consultants, LLC of St. Charles, Illinois, for a groundwater ordinance. Environmental Consultants are working to fulfill the obligations of the IEPA, or the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency's site remediation program, to obtain a no further remediation letter for soil and groundwater contaminated related to the property located at 324 East Central Boulevard, currently owned by 324 East Central LLC. This ordinance prohibits the use of groundwater as a supply of potable water through installations and/or use of private potable water supply wells as required from the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency. Staff recommends approval of this ordinance, and if you have any other questions of staff, we'll be able to handle that. I think you've covered a lot of it.
Okay, yeah, I think we did, okay. Trustee Slaw? No. Okay, since this is the first reading, it's a discussion only unless someone wants to make a motion to waive the second reading.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to waive the second reading as this is written tonight.
Okay. Trustee Patrick?
Mr.
Second.
President, I'd like to second that.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Clerk Kornecki?
Okay, trustee Corkery,
Yes.
trustee Murphy,
No.
trustee Kozar.
Since this is my property, I'm recusing myself.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Stilella,
Yes.
trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
President Kazal.
Yes. Okay, since we are waiving the second reading, we can open this up for this, no, we have to make a motion. Okay. Make a motion to approve the ordinance. Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve this ordinance.
Okay. Second? Trustee Corkery? Okay, well, any questions, comments on this? Trustee Murphy?
Yes, I have a question. Do we know whether that contamination has impacted the gross property at the old post office? And if so, how does all of this tie together with them?
Since they are included in the ordinance, either their groundwater has been impacted or computer modeling shows there's a potential for impact in the future. I think as Cheryl Tucker, she had mentioned, these contaminants stick around for, a long time. And over time, the computer modeling would show how far the potential extent would be after 100 years. So like I say, either groundwater is impacted on the Gross's property or the potential to impact it has been shown.
So then their address is included in this, and they will also get a no further remediation required from the state?
No, they will just, actually, they will get no notification. I take that back. Once the no further remediation letter is issued, they have to receive a letter stating that their groundwater has been impacted or potentially impacted, and that they cannot use a well on their property. So they will be notified of that in the future. But they are not included in the no further remediation letter.
So they would have to go through this whole monitoring process?
No, they just can't use the groundwater, that's all.
Okay.
Yeah. But like I say, they will be informed of that as part of the regulations, the EPA regulations. Any other questions or comments? Hey, Clerk Kornecki, please. This is on the ordinance itself.
Yes, trustee Murphy,
Yes.
trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Stilella,
Yes.
trustee Corkery,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Kozar.
Again, I'll recuse myself.
Thank you. President Kazal.
Yes. Okay, with that, it will pass. Item 7A, resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving the support and maintenance invoice from Harris Computer Systems in the amount of $20,196.67. Manager Harley.
The village currently uses CityView software from Harris Computer Systems in the Community Development and Public Works Department and to track all permitting and code enforcement. The village approved a contract with Harris Computer Systems on March 17th of 2015, which was inclusive of recurring annual maintenance charges to continue use of this software. The village has received the annual support and maintenance invoice for CityView in the amount of $20,196.67. Staff recommends the payment of this invoice to Harris Computers. This is before the board simply because it exceeds the manager's purchasing authority. this is necessary to maintain the current software.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion on the ordinance? Trustee Kumar?
I'll make that
Okay,
motion.
do we have a second? Trustee Solella? Okay, any discussion, questions? Trustee Kumar?
Again, we're hitting the 20 cap. We just need to think of changing that somehow. That's my only comment.
Correct.
I think
The
20.
manager and our village attorney, we have discussed that, and I think on the next, at our next meeting, we should have an ordinance increasing the manager's spending authority.
Okay.
So we'll try to have that on the July 25th meeting.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Clerk Herneke?
Hey, Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
Trustee Solella,
Yes.
President Casella.
Yes. Okay, we go to item 8A, which is an informational item, findings of fact for petition PZ-22-0001. Manager Harlan.
At the May 12, 2022 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, a public hearing was held to consider a request from Catalyst Partners and Marquette Companies, the applicant, for a zoning change, a special use for planned unit development, a plat of subdivision, and a vacation of a portion of Myrtle Avenue. Village Code under Appendix C, Basic Zoning Ordinance, Section 11.4.6 requires that for any special use, the Planning and Zoning Commission must hold a public hearing and within 60 days, is paraphrased a little bit, of the close of the public hearing, transmit its findings and recommendations to the village board. This is that report. Section 11.4.7 gives the Board of Trustees an additional 60 days to make a decision on the proposal or to remand it back to Planning and Zoning with instructions. This is to act within 60 days, the board must take action by September 9th. The last scheduled board meeting within this window before this date is August 23rd. The only action tonight would be to simply accept the report. This is a different course of action than we have typically followed, but it is verbatim what the code calls for. Having said that, with the way we've been doing it is not wrong. It's just that the Board of Trustees often reviews the report with recommendations on the same night as the receipt of the report for special use or rezoning case. Owing to the complexity of this case and the desire on the part of the village staff to pause the final board decision, we have chosen to suggest that the board move forward this way. The staff's desire to pause is to allow Catalyst and their partners enough time to complete some other steps that we want to see accomplished before these key approvals. Staff is still remains supportive of the project and the partnership working on this project, but we feel this approach is the best marriage of moving the project forward while providing encouragement to the developer to complete important tasks in a timely manner. It has the added benefit of giving the board more time to study the project before having to make a decision.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion to accept the report. Trustee Patrick.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to accept the report.
Okay, do we have a second? Trustee Kumar? A
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any questions or comments on the report itself? Okay, seeing none. Clerk Herneke?
Hey, Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Solella,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
Yeah.
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
President Casella.
Yes. Okay, with that, we will go on to public comments on non-agenda items. Clerk Herneke, anyone signed up?
Yes, we have, first one is Joe Amore.
Joe Amore, 309 East Maple Street in Villa Park. I'd like to share an email that I sent to the village board and the president and the village manager on July 3rd, observing the Maple area improvements. Now remember, I do not live on this section of Maple Street. I do use it to drive down and to walk down, but so I am affected by it, but I'm not personally affected by the landscaping changes. Email was sent on July 3rd. Greetings to all. The concrete ribbon curb has been poured on Maple Street between Illinois and Summit Avenues. It will now be difficult, if not impossible, to create a streetscape that flows smoothly into Maple east of Summit, especially since new power poles have been moved inexplicably inward. My Maple Street neighbors are very upset and may seek explanation at the next board meeting. Please take the time to visit this area so you can see with your own eyes what the problems are. It is still not too late to place sidewalks along one or both sides to keep children and commuters from harm's way. Have a happy and safe Independence Day. Signed, Joe Amore. For those of you that haven't had a chance to read this email, don't bother printing it out, because since I've seen that, the contractor has come in with some kind of shovel, and except for the two houses at the west end of the block, they have created a ditch in front of each house for drainage, which completely eliminates any possibility of putting a sidewalk in. So not only that, but they have, supposedly the contractor has made it a one-way street. Now, between Summit and Illinois, if you're going to make it a one-way street, you need to make it one-way street eastward, so that traffic flowing out of the Metro parking lot at the end of the day can continue on. I just observed tonight, northbound traffic on Illinois comes to the lot. Do not enter signs posted. They try to make a right turn. Do not enter signs are posted. Now they have to turn, make a three-point turn and go back the other way. This is going to be a permanent change. That street's going to be made one way. It needs to be eastward, because the do not enter into the parking lot and the no right turn on westbound Maple into the parking lot are completely ignored. So, now, for those who approved the design, there seems to be a general lack of accountability.
Okay, 30 seconds left.
Thank you. I'd like to know, I know this board believes in accountability, otherwise we wouldn't have a brand new manager here. And perhaps the answer is that the trustees should be accountable for specific areas, because this problem has been brought along and commented and commented and commented on, and nothing has been addressed. So, once again, thank you for your time. I know not all of my neighbors could make it, but some of them are also here tonight that want to speak on the subject. Thank you.
A couple of things. I know that we had, Director Guerrera has approached that and said the sidewalks would not have been able to have been done this year, correct?
Yeah. He said, Director Guerrera was able to get me a report today, and we don't have it ready for the board meeting, but there's a number of different reasons why we're proceeding that way, but.
I'm sorry,
Just a quick rundown on that, please.
So, as Mr. Murray mentioned, we did review that, I believe, last fall when the bids were received. We did have some savings that we reviewed the location in terms of there was no curbs or gutters, sidewalks. Previous administrations, the standard mode of procedure was if there was a rural section, which is no curbs and gutters, and in ditches, that any improvements would need to be then special assessed to bring it into what we call an urban section, which would be the curb and gutter sidewalks. We reviewed that over the winter, and in terms of putting in curb and gutters, the drainage required to flatten that area to make it for sidewalks was well over $300,000. As you already know, we've already passed a change order on this project over $200,000. We do have additional changes coming. So budgetary rise, we do not have the money to add the sidewalks at this time. We did proceed with the ribbon curbs, as Mr. Murray mentioned, and that was to help hold the edge of pavement. The previous pavement would buckle off, crack off on the edges, and to kind of preserve our investment in the street as it is now, we put in ribbon curbing to hold that. The power poles were moved in slightly. We do have plenty of room on the back edge of right-of-way, so any future sidewalk would actually go behind the poles, between the right-of-way edge and those locations. But like I said, it's usually a budgetary. We're probably $300,000 to $400,000 over on this project, which this project was a referendum project along with an IEPA loan, so that the funding is somewhat limited in terms of availability. So we are looking at other possible future projects and where we could get maybe funding for infill for sidewalk as we do have several locations throughout the community that does not have sidewalk to provide that connectivity. But at this time, it's just too costly to include those changes at this time.
And then regarding,
I will review, it's not a permanent one-way, that's solely for construction. I believe that's probably partly to due to the strike that's occurring with Operators 150, as we've kind of stalled on construction as we can't get materials. And I know with that location with the ribbon coating, we do have some fall-off holes that we'll probably pull the barricades in so that cars would not have ability to damage. But we will review it, and if it needs to flip, we'll work with the contractors to review the traffic flow.
thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, yes, Mary Rossline.
I'm here to talk about the unimprovements to my Maple Street. We had sewers. Now we have a 10-foot wide, 3 feet deep gutter, open gutter. That's not an improvement. You've just lowered my property value. You unearthed the gas lines. The gas lines are supposed to be 18 inches below ground. Now they're laying above ground. Throwing a little dirt over them isn't going to fix that. They're supposed to be down. Our street is only 21 feet wide. If you go down on Maple, it's 25. So we're 4 feet narrower. Don't have sidewalks, never had sidewalks, okay. But now when the children or people are trying to walk down our street, they're going to have to jump into the gutter. Hopefully it's not full of water. And I've noticed that as people walk down, they're throwing trash in it. There are children on our street. Yes, when the street is finished, they're going to be playing on the street because we don't have sidewalks. But they'll have to jump into the gutter. They're just lowering my property value. I would never have bought a house with a gutter in front of it. This is not an improvement. They could have put the pipe underground. They could have put openings like we used to have, but they said they couldn't. Why not? We had sewers. We had drains. You took them up. And you put in a gutter. And I'm sorry, but water runs downhill, not up. So I think some of these gutters are going to be dry. Just full of garbage. That as the train people walk by, they toss their bottles in. This is not an improvement at all. Thank you.
Okay, you also have, did I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Kimberly Castaneda.
I am Mary's neighbor. I live next door. I also have a daughter. I also have someone who is disabled that lives at my house. And when he is picked up, now the whole entire street has to be blocked off. I am concerned when a school bus is going down and cars are trying to get by. These kids are going to go into this empty hole. We never had a problem with the street being, I've been there 15 years. We've never had a problem with the street, quote unquote, falling apart. We had it repaved once. She's lived there way longer than I have. I've done major improvements to my house. I've never had water issues. But this, no one seems to have answers. I've talked to the engineer, I've talked to the construction crew, so that I know what's going on. They weren't willing to give our driveways back unless we stood out there and said, we have to get out of our houses. We're not asking for a lot, just some answers. Have any of you been down there to see this? I pulled a broken bottle out of my driveway, out of the ribbon ditch. That's what it is. That's literally what it is. I pulled a broken bottle out of there before a little girl who was writing down her block would have ridden and fell into the exact spot. It's a major health concern too. What are you going to do with the sitting water and the mosquitoes and anything like that? There's not adequate lighting. I've emailed people regarding lighting, so people who come down off of the train aren't going to be able to see where the ditches start, especially if a car is parked or they're trying to get around a car. This is a major health concern. It's a safety concern. We're not asking for a lot. We're a quiet block, but we got lots of kids. I got kids that love to play basketball across the street. My daughter, who is 15, likes to skateboard down the street. Am I supposed to tell my daughter she can't play on our street, so now she has to go around in order to do that? We're not asking for a lot, but just some answers. Who's in control here? Who has these answers? A-Lamp doesn't. The engineer is just going, I gotta do what I gotta do, and I understand that. Nobody knows who's doing what. But just imagine your own kids, your own grandkids, your own nieces, nephews, who can't go up and down the block and ride their skateboard, a bike, training wheels. You're talking about little kids all the way up to teenagers who just want to play outside. Metro people who go one way, and then these kids are going to have to fall into a ditch in order to go into the other one. We have pipes sticking up out of the ground, and nobody knows if they're going to get buried or not. This high. This high. I know I'm short, so that's like a mountain for me. I get that. But also, I'm thinking of little kids here. I would hate for a little kid to get majorly damaged simply because they were trying to ride a bike. These are just the things that we're thinking of, and we're seeing it day to day. Right now, I have a 12-foot hole in my front yard. I asked them what they were going to do about that, and they said, oh, it's going to be about that deep. I said, how are you going to put sod on a hole?
30 seconds.
How are you going to put sod on a hole? They said they're going to put it around. Is this going to become a tombstone at this point? So that's just what my thoughts are. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else?
Yes.
We have one person, and that is Sue.
They can go first if it's related to Maple Street. It's related to
Okay, go ahead.
Bob? No? Okay.
Thank you. My name is Heidi Lyon. I reside on Maple Street. I'm neighbors with these women. Their complaints are 100% accurate and truthful. We have gas lines, things that are way inappropriate, sticking out of the ground that are supposed to be submerged. I don't know how you can justify this, that you're going to put unsafe living conditions. This has got to be one of the busiest pedestrian intersections in Villa Park. It comes up to the train station. So all of that transportation, anybody who lives in the city of Villa Park and wants to take a train has to go down that street if they're on the south side of North Avenue or just north of St. Charles. It's a huge problem. And when I first moved 10 years ago into the house that I live in, it had bushes in the front. I had to take them down because of all the garbage that got thrown into the bushes and people having sex behind the bushes, excited getting home from the train. I mean, it was ridiculous. You know, you're making a serious, dangerous mistake putting ditches there with this much foot traffic. And why in God's name, if I live on a hill, would I want a ditch? You're creating a problem for me. I don't have a problem with flooding. I live next door to her. She doesn't have a problem with flooding. And yet you want to take tens of thousands of dollars off of the property value of these homes because you ran out of money to finish this project. We're the last block to be done. I expect a more thoughtful answer than nobody has an answer for us and why nothing is up to code. You know, I mean, it's just unacceptable. Somebody has to be responsible. So who's going to answer our questions?
30 seconds.
Well, okay, Hosanna, where do we go for some answers? Could you tell us in the next 30 seconds how we
find a way to make sure our neighborhood is safe for our children, our senior citizens. Why we don't have sidewalks on like the busiest section of town in Villa Park, going up to the train station. Why?
Well, we can discuss this with Public Works and
Yeah.
try to figure out what's going on there.
We can, so the report that Mr. Director Guerra, he gave a piece of the stuff that he has studied, and some of this, some of the problems you're discussing are because the project isn't finished yet, like the pipes above ground, et cetera. Those will go underground. But there are some other items that we should be able to address with you. The problem is that when this is according essentially to the design that we approved. And one of the reasons we approved it without sidewalks is because of the cost of the whole project. But your observations about the need for a sidewalk there are entirely valid. I've talked about this with Director Guerra. We'd like to come back and do that project. It's not in the budget of this project. It does mean that that situation will be there for a while. The ditch will be there for a bit.
Could you explain to me why it's more important to have a sidewalk 6 blocks from the train station rather than 1 block from the train station? We have no sidewalks. So if indeed it's flooding because the rain is pouring down, and this, not my yard, but the street is flooded, people have to walk on the street, they don't have any choice because there's no sidewalk. Why would you not put a sidewalk 1 block from the train station? And why is it important to have it 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 blocks away? Everybody else has sidewalks. They've all been fixed. But we can't have a sidewalk 1 block from the train station. And we can't even have gutters. We've got these little, I asked my neighbor, I was like, is that supposed to be a sidewalk? What is that? Oh, it's called a ribbon. I've never even seen that before. It looks like a big waste of money to me. It's supposed to define the boundary between the street and your grass. Well,
Right. It's there to protect the edge of the street.
we didn't have a problem with that. And we don't have a problem with flooding. So you're addressing the wrong problems and you're not addressing the problems. And when we try to ask the people who are working on it, what is going on, they're telling us this is the way it's going to be. These pipes are going to be above the ground. There's no more money left. And sorry that you don't have a driveway that you can get in and out of. And it looks like you're in an Oklahoma, dust storm. It's been that way for 3 weeks. There's huge trenches on
try to
both
address
sides of the
that
street.
as best as Public Works can. The piping is going to get, I don't know why an engineer would tell you that it's not going to get buried, at the end of the
Well, they're
project.
telling us it's not going to. They're telling us it's not going to. So I just want to know, who do we talk to?
So I guess to answer some of those questions is, I believe your section was probably an unincorporated location, which is rather rural.
No.
Historically, before it got, because of rural. And then that's how it was accepted into the village. The
Well,
ditches
it's
are
not
like the
unincorporated,
manager
no.
had, not currently, no.
It never was.
Yeah.
But as we've built the ditches, like they're saying, that's rough grading, it's not finished. I'll bring in some topsoil, level it off. Any exposed pipes, if it's the culverts going underneath your driveways or your sidewalks, will be open so the water can pass through. I think you referenced the street would flood because there was not good drainage on that roadway, so the water would sit on the road. The ditches are to help disperse that water. The ditches were supposedly probably there originally, just got built in over the
No.
years. So those ditches are helped to
No.
facilitate the water
There were no
through.
ditches,
So to get that water.
and we don't have flooding.
To get the water off the roadway into the proper locations of the ditches and to the storm sewers. The ribbon curbing is there because that edge is unreinforced, so that helps break off when traffic runs off to the side. It helps define the edge of the roadway. As you mentioned, with the low lighting and different stuff, that helps define where that roadway's at. And it helps push that water into the ditches so it's not sitting in locations.
I don't know how it's gonna go uphill. That's my question.
Graded towards to the
It's not,
to the
well,
west.
you come out and take a look at it, and you show me how it's not uphill. I mean,
We
uphill
can do
is
that.
pretty simple.
We can
We
come
can
out
do
and talk to
that.
you
The
guys.
gas lines, we are working with NICOR. They're still in the area, lowering the locations that have to be done throughout the whole project. They need to address those. But the ditches are what we call rough graded. They're going in and get the initial material out to be rough graded. They'll come in with more dirt to fill it back in with black dirt, topsoil, and then the sod. The sod will not occur until September. That is just regulations because of the heat.
I have one more quick question for
That we
you.
don't want the grass to die and to cause undue burden on the residents. So there will be dusty, I do apologize for that. It's just the timing of the project and with the different, obviously the strike has slowed the progress down, is we can't plant until September for the sod.
Okay, well, currently, we pay Salt Creek for all sewer removal. So are we now responsible for all the water that has to be removed? Is our Salt Creek gonna
No.
triple? Because now we're gonna have these big trenches that are so unattractive.
So that's.
Our property values are gonna go down, and now we're gonna pay triple for our Salt Creek bills?
And the legal counsel can correct, no public improvement can decrease the value of your property.
This will.
And
You come over, yeah, do you want a huge trench in the middle of your
You know what,
front yard?
we're getting really long.
so,
in
I
there,
mean,
but-
to address that, yes, I
Yeah.
mean, that was the design was to help facilitate drainage that was currently there. It's not completed, as the manager Hartline has stated, we're still in the midst of construction, so the condition that it is now is not the final condition. It's gonna be shaped up, cleaned up.
Well, I would love to personally see you come out and show me how it's gonna be cleaned up.
Like I said,
I
we're
give
still.
you an invitation.
What is
Come
your
on
address?
over.
I've
What's your
stopped out
address?
several times, but yes, I'd be willing to
334, maybe.
stop out and discuss any of these improvements with the residents.
Okay.
Look forward to seeing you.
Okay. I think Bob Wagner, you wanted to come up?
Thank you. Bob Wagner, 114 West Monroe. I'm here this evening just to let the board know and the public know about some changes that have recently been instituted by Simple Recycling. That's the orange bag program where folks can put housewares and fabrics and clothing out on the curb. Some residents mentioned to me that they noticed that there were changes to the program, that their bags were not being picked up. And as part of a follow-up for Spring Sweep, I did reach out to them and I got a reply, which I forwarded to Manager Harline
Yes.
and to President Kazone today. So I just wanted to mention those at the board meeting this evening. The new collection date is on Friday for Villa Park, so we're no longer going to be collected on our garbage and recycling date. There will no longer be a need to use orange bags. Residents can use any bags or boxes. You will have to go on to the Simple Recycling website. That's simplerecycling.com. Pick up on Friday. And once you get a confirmation email, there will be a printable label that you can put on the bag or box that you'll be putting on near your front door. There's no longer a need to put the items on the curb. You can put them on your front door, on your front porch or your front stoop, and they'll pick up those items. So some changes, and as I said, I forwarded the email today.
Yep.
And incidentally, they
Messino?
Musarino.
Musarino.
Yeah, sorry. Forgot that. And Ms. Musarino has a brief PowerPoint presentation. Please.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm here to humbly request that you deny the proposed site at 27 West Park. That's going to be voted on July 25th. And the reason is multiple-fold. I'm going to only use facts, and I'm only going to stick with one topic, which is parking. On June 30th, the memo from village staff clearly stated to planning and zoning that the variance requests by the petitioner for this site were denied for hardship for parking and lot coverage. They were denied. They did not meet the requirements for the variance hardship 11.5.1. And on that evening, planning and zoning also denied the approval of those two variances. They were denied. And I want to point to a number of other facts why this project should be denied. Now, I just moved ahead. The petitioner's reason for the variance hardship was a study that he quoted, KLOA. Now, this study is generic. It's based upon the number of cars needed per bedroom for the apartments. And it is generic. It's not specific to Villa Park. Villa Park is a car-dependent city. It's a commuter city. So I took a deeper dive into Villa Park and I looked at walk score. Now, walk score for Villa Park specifically gives it a walk score of 49. What does this mean? It means there's minimal transportation, public transportation, and it also means that we're a car-dependent city. But what about the 27 West Park Boulevard site? Let's look at that specifically. And when I did my own analysis, we know the nearest train station is a mile away. The nearest bus station, the 313 to Yorktown, is 0.4 miles away. The nearest grocery store is Jewel, 0.6 miles. And the nearest sit-down restaurant is 0.7 miles away. This is a car-dependent site. More so, when you look at the site specifically and the architecture drawings, it has 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom. Now, what's curious or interesting, every single 1 bedroom has 2 full bathrooms. This is highly unusual. But what they do instead is have a den. Functionally, they're all 2 bedroom. But because the petitioner took advantage of the code, and the den has no window, therefore it's not coded as a bedroom. But functionally, they have all 2 full bathrooms, with the exception of 1. And what that means is it's going to require more cars. It's going to be more car dependent. And also, these are luxury apartments. They're $2,400 to $2,800 a month. That's a lot of money for 1 person. And the petitioner says he's not going to rent to people if they have more than 1 car. Well, I don't know how he's going to manage that because life changes, as we all know. Somebody loses a job or feels that they have too big of expenses, and so they're going to need to have a roommate with a separate bathroom. This is great for them. Or maybe they fall in love and then they have a significant other living with them. So functionally, we're going to need not 37 parking spaces. Functionally, we're going to need closer to 47. Now, how do I know this is true? And one more note, if you look at, you probably can't see from here, but the square footage of a 1 bedroom versus a 2 bedroom, and this is their 2nd and 3rd floors, 1,131 square feet versus 1,190 square feet. They're very similar in size, they're very similar in price. But we know what happens when life changes. And what happens with other apartments in Villa Park is we have congestion. Many, and I can do more research for you. We have overflow parking. They're using borrowed spaces. I've given you 5 examples of problems where they're parking illegally. Now, when these apartment buildings were built, they were all meeting code. And I don't think it's proper when we have a site that's actually, the development is too big for this site, and that puts an undue burden on the police department. I don't think it's fair to the police department. I don't think it's fair to the village residents. And I don't think it's fair to the taxpayers that are paying for their property taxes. Here's one at St. Charles Road in Ardmore, the Village Apartments, where the landlord is telling them to park at the church parking lot. And the sign, which you can't read, says no violation, no parking allowed. And the same is happening, and I'm gonna skip through these. I'm gonna let you read. Did the board get the packets? Oh, okay. Okay, that would be great. I've got more details for you with the specific times. I'm gonna go fast here. But here at Sterling, this is borrowed space. He's been nice enough to this date, but now he's starting to chain things off to allow the apartment people to park there. Now, I feel for the poor apartment people. You know, we all need a car to get to work, but the village needs to change the code. 37 isn't going to be enough. It's going to be closer to 48.
So you're going to have to kind of.
Okay. So in summary, all I'm asking is if you please respectfully look at what the village staff said. It doesn't meet the hardship variances. They came up with the solution. They said shrink the building. What a great idea. So that's what we need to do. P&Z denied these. Let's look at the information I sent to. I can give you more. But please, I'm asking you to vote no on this particular development. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thanks, Sue. Anyone else?
No, I have no one else.
Okay, do we have anyone else that would like to speak?
How you doing, Mike Orlowski in Villa Park. I didn't really plan to speak. The only reason that I am going to speak is in reference to the construction that was just spoke about on the street. I just did go through construction on our street. Unfortunately for us, when we were going through the construction, NICOR created huge delays. So the only thing that I would say to the homeowners that are there is please be patient and wait for the construction to be finished. It's not easy dealing with these contractors. That was it.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Okay, anyone else? Okay, go to item 10, clerk's report.
I have nothing special.
Nothing?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Village trustees report, we'll start on my left. Trustee Kumar.
Well, I just have two things to say. I really enjoyed walking Villa Park during the 4th of July parade, along with my writers who were there and the new manager. That was a very fun experience. I am in turn very saddened about what happened in Highland Park during their parade, and I just want to reveal my condolences to the families that were affected in such a tragedy. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Corkery.
So just a reminder, in case anyone hasn't heard, our Shakespeare in the Park is coming right up. It's going to be the last weekend in July and the first weekend in August. So we've got shows on the 29th, the 30th, the 5th, and the 6th at 3 o'clock at the Rugged Gazebo on the Prairie Path. The show this year is Much Ado About Nothing, and it's going pretty well so far. I just came right from fight choreography to be here, which is why I was late. I apologize for that. But it's turning out to be a good show, and I'm really looking forward to it. And hope to see you all there. That's all. Thank you.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes, just a huge shout out to Director Gola, Parks and Rec, the commission, and the whole village. We've been patiently waiting for the OSLOD grant associated with putting some future amenities over at Lufkin, and we were notified late Friday afternoon that Villa Park did get their grant. So we're very excited. It's always wonderful when we get money. And we've got a plan, so it's time to take that plan out and take a look at the timeline. We don't know quite yet. This all just basically hit Friday afternoon. So we don't have a timeline, but we have money, so we can fix the rest. So congratulations, and thanks for everyone for being so patient. It's been a long time coming. They were short resources, so we've been patiently waiting, and now we're there. So more to follow. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Gola, would you like to make any comments? We kind of stole your thunder here a little bit.
That's okay.
No comments. No, it was great news. It's been a long process. Everything was delayed for a year with COVID. I know the IDNR is short-staffed. We did our community input, seems like 10 years ago, but we got a lot of good input from the residents, and we lost a really good, valuable amenity in the pool, and so the area has been kind of vacant. I mean, kids are playing over there with the vacant lot, but we'd like to get some more amenities back and have the residents enjoy a lot of new things, including a ninja course and spray pad, accessible playground, walking path around a pier, and we're going to be working with Public Works when they're redoing the pond, hopefully, and make it a little bigger, and stock it with fish and that type of thing. So it's an exciting project, and we're just waiting on a timeline, like Trustee Murphy said, of when we can get started. And it was in the budget for this year and for next year. It's kind of a 2-year project, and if we can get started this year, we're ready to go. So if not, we'll have to wait until 2023. So, but thank you all.
Great. Thanks again. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Great job. Hey, Trustee Patrick.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Again, congratulations, Director Gola. Thank you. It's amazing. Put a lot of time, effort, and blood, sweat, and tears into that project. So thank you for making that happen for us. It is going to be a valuable asset to our community. So thank you. Second, I would like to request from the village a follow-up email regarding the findings of the meeting that staff will be holding with the Maple area residents. I'd like to kept up to date on that. We had already touched base about the Highland Park incident. My thoughts and prayers go out to the friends, families, and everyone affected by that incident. It's very unfortunate on a day where we should be celebrating our independence. We are faced with violence like that. On a lighter note, though, we did have a really successful, good 4th of July parade. We really did. It was 2 years in the making since COVID put a stall to a lot of that. I would like to thank the VFW Post Commander JB for involving the village, especially the Cable Commission, in helping to record the parade and MC it as the floats came by. So thank you to the VFW Post 2801 for making that happen. Also like to call out Al Stash and Matt Cassane from the Cable Commission as well for being able to be a big part of the production. Also the village staff and all of our first responders that were out there that made it such a good event. The kids had fun. My kids came home with bags of candy, so that was a success there. If anybody is looking to view the parade, the final production, you could go to tvvillapark.com. That website will be up and running by this Friday, and a lot of the Cable Commission productions could be found there in one spot. And then also a shout out to Tom King, another member of our Cable Commission, who has been filming the Villa Park Mariners swim meets at Jefferson Pool. And I believe our last Mariners swim meet will be this coming Wednesday at Jefferson Pool. So again, if you would like to view any of the Villa Park Cable Commission productions, again, by this Friday, you could go to tvvillapark.com and they will be all there ready for you. Lastly, last week, Leslie Allison CI interviewed our manager, our new manager, Matthew Harline, at Highview Restaurant, and that production should be posted within the next week or so as well. So that is all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Kozar.
I don't have any report today.
Okay. Trustee Salala.
Yeah, I also would like to comment on the parade. It was well-staffed. Thank our Public Works departments, our police and fire for an outstanding job controlling our route and the people participating in it. I didn't know Villa Park had so many kids. Unbelievable. But they all looked like they had a great time. I know I did. handed out a lot of candy and a lot of happy faces, and I hope it continues into the future. So thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, President's report, actually I got several things, but I'd also like to touch on Highland Park. You know, such a joyous day that everyone celebrates. Horrible event, but you have to look at some of the good that comes out of that. You look at the first responders, police, fire, paramedics, residents were out there helping everybody. Amid the carnage, those people were out there helping everybody. So, you know, it's a horrible event, but it shows that there are good people out there, and we have to focus on the good. I'd also like to touch on the VFW Parade. I'd like to thank Trustee Patrick, Matt Cassane, and Al Stash. They did a great job emceeing it, and I think looking forward to seeing the on the channel, the videotape of that. It would be interesting to see. It was great to have everybody out there. It's a lot of people, like a lot of pent-up desire to have that parade going. I was glad VFW had it again this year. Also like to thank Trustee Kumar. She braved the walking, and along with our new manager, and Trustee Salala and I kind of eked out and were able to ride along, so that was a good thing. It was fun.
Well, in your defense, you were still, you know.
Yeah, well, that's we don't want to talk about that. That's good. And Trustee Murphy was also driving in the parade too, so it was a great time. Love Your Neighbor Day is coming up September 17th. The Christian Church of Villa Park is doing that again this year. Applications are due August 19th. Volunteer sign-ups are due by September 4th. You can email loveyourneighbor15@yahoo.com for any information, or you can go to ccvponline.net/loveyourneighborday, and there's information, there's sign-ups if you have you'd like your house worked on, or if you want to volunteer for it, you can go to that website. Concerts are continuing at the gazebo on Wednesdays, Kiwanis. They had their first one last Wednesday. It was very well attended. St. John's band was out there. Great crowd. And the food, as usual, was good. Thanks to everybody that was out there cooking and selling food. And I received an email today from resident Justin Schlensky, and he asked that I just read a few things that he's got coming up. And if I can find it here, I will. Okay, first is the District 1J Motorcycle Lions Group is hosting its Cruise for Companion ride this upcoming Saturday, July 16th, to benefit the West Suburban Humane Society. The event will begin at 10 a.m. at Heritage, Harley-Davidson, and Lyle. It costs us $20 per bike, or you can purchase items from the West Suburban Humane Society's Amazon wish list, which can be found on the District 1J Motorcycle Lions Club's Facebook page. The second is the Wildfire Harley-Davidson Owners Group, the HOG Chapter 1084, is holding a ride this Sunday, July 17th, as a way in part to promote Villa Park. The event will begin at 10 a.m. at Wildfire Harley-Davidson on North Avenue, include a roughly 2-hour ride, which will then end at CAPS on St. Charles and Villa Park. Public Information Officer is working with the HOG Chapter to spread the word, and they will post on their Facebook as soon as they receive the HOG event page from them. And finally, blood donations are in very high demand at the moment, especially in light of the recent Highland Park shooting. If you can, please consider donating at Versity, Red Cross, or any other donation collection provider. There are various blood donation centers located throughout eastern DuPage County, and for anyone looking to help in response to this senseless tragedy, this is a great way to do so. And with that, we will go to the village manager's report.
All right. Thank you. First thing, some of you, I have one, a conflict of interest form for the, if we don't have one on file, if you had it in your chair, it's a proposal to amend and extend the St. Charles Road TIF district. If you have no controlling financial interest in any of the businesses in the geographic business district, you can fill out the top part of the form and sign it and turn it in to me or Patrick Burke. If you have a conflict, fill out the bottom form and detail the conflict. That doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It just means that you are inactive in the business community in this area, and we're being transparent about it. If you're unsure, if you have a conflict, contact me or Patrick Burke, Director of Economic Development, or we will answer it if it's obvious, or defer to Melissa Wolf and her firm for a definite answer. Staff members involved in the decision-making process will also have to fill this out. Several already have done that, so we just need to get that done. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. Is this different than the one we received a couple of weeks ago?
No, I think I put it in the wrong chair, because I think yours is...
No, I recall something online that we received for conflict of interest.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing, yeah. Yeah.
It was filled out.
I think yours is...
That you needed an hard copy.
Yeah. I think, is it Patrick, which, yeah, some of them are already done. It's just...
Trustee Solo, you might be referring to the economic interest statement that DuPage County requires. That's online. This conflict of interest statement is it's a paper document, and it's just for the consideration of the TIF district that we're considering creating.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, if anybody has any questions, just direct them to me, Director Burke, or and we'll get you to Melissa if we can't answer it easily. Michael, Director Guerra has a brief report about the operation of the wet weather treatment plant. I'm still getting that wrong.
Thank you, Manager Crum. Last Monday, or actually I guess Tuesday, very early Tuesday morning, luckily Mother Nature gave its own fireworks, but waited till the artificial ones were finished. But around midnight, late after that, we did receive a heavy storm front that came through. We did receive a little over 2 inches in that short period of time, which did cause some flash flooding throughout the community. We did go into operation at our wet weather treatment plant facility around 12:40. We did unfortunately have 2 discharges from our CSO1 and CSO3 flap gates into Salt Creek. We were in operation for approximately we discharged for roughly 2 hours. We're in operation into the next day until we can pump all the way back down to Salt Creek. But we did have to go into operation, and we did have a few of those. Additionally, we did lose some large limbs. I think we did lose a tree near Central and Euclid. And Public Works staff went out the next day and was working most of last week cleaning up that storm debris, that any limbs that had fallen, the fallen tree, cleaning up a lot of that or that loose foliage that occurred during that storm event. But I can be happy to answer any additional questions that any of the board may have.
Trustee Smith.
Thank you. Director Guerra, was the discharge from the wet weather facility, treatment facility, within the compliance of our NIPD's permit through the EPA?
So our EPA permit and PDS permit does allow, on average, up to 4 discharges a year, and we got to work towards limiting that. So that does count towards those discharges, and we should be, I apologize, I have not double checked, but it should be on our website that we discharged. We do have a web page on our website, have we reported the last, that shows the times that we discharged and the duration. So it is in compliance. Unfortunately, it surged too quickly that we couldn't handle it all in the plant. So by design, it's designed to discharge from our CSO locations, which occurred for about 2 hours.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My third item has already been taken care of. Again, congratulations to the staff, particularly Parks and Rec staff, for the announcement of the money from the for the Lufkin Park Improvement Project. Is it? I want to say is it a grant or is it out of bond money? Grant. Okay, that is a grant. Okay. Also, I just emailed out a memo that Michael Guerra produced as the interim village manager about meeting as committee of the whole. This has been a discussion, and a lot of the cities I've worked in has had some version of this. As I don't know if I wrote this before I wrote the email, but most cities that I have worked in have had some form of committee of the whole process to go over, have in-depth discussions about particular subjects to avoid having to get to a chance to have an open and more open discussion than in a standard meeting, and also to have presentations before you're required to make a decision on it that night. It's often used to have a discussion on the first meeting of the month, and then on the second meeting of the month, you'll have had time to digest the information as opposed to making a decision that night. So the next my understanding is the next step was waiting on the arrival of a new village manager so that we can proceed. I know that there is a discussion about if or where, how to do it. So the next logical step would be to set, I'm going to place it on the next Board of Trustees meeting with the goal of setting the time for the next Committee of the Whole meeting. And at that first Committee of the Whole meeting, we can flesh out the rest of the details of what we want to use that for and the process that we would use. I mean, if there is a desire on the entire Board of Trustees to proceed that way. So that would set the first Committee of the Whole meeting for the first meeting in August, depending upon how you guys want to proceed. But we'll have it on the agenda for next meeting to set that time for a meeting, so that we have everything, we have time to announce it and do all the things we have to properly follow the OMA rules. And that's my suggestion for moving forward, unless I hear differently. We'll proceed.
Would we be able to take a general consensus right now to see who would be in favor of moving forward with Committee of the Whole, especially for August?
That's fine with me, as I don't know.
Yeah, from an Open Meetings Act perspective, there's nothing inappropriate about getting a consensus. Just no official final action can be taken because it's not on the agenda.
Right.
Okay. We don't need a motion.
No.
Okay. Clerk Kornecki, consensus vote on moving ahead with the Committee of the Whole.
Okay. Okay, Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
No.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
Trustee Salala,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
President Kazal.
Yes. Okay, so we will move forward with that at our next meeting.
Right.
And then have it on the 8th.
And then I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine.
Last item is we will prepare an ordinance about increasing the limit for the village manager to match the state limits. We'll bring that back to you because there's been several people have made that comment, and we've had to take small bits of council or Board of Trustees time to do that action since I've been here.
Okay, great, thank you. Item 14 is executive session. I don't believe we really have any need for that this evening. So we can move ahead to item 15, adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Trustee Kozar.
I'll make that motion.
We have a second? Trustee Salala, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, our next meeting will be July 25th. You guys have a good week, next couple of weeks. Enjoy the summer.